I am so excited about these new eyeshadow palettes. I ordered these Kryptein Secret Garden eyeshadow palettes at launch and they're already here and I'm so excited to play with them. I love the look of these color stories. Everything swatched so good, and I mean so good. I've tried one eyeshadow palette from Kryptein Cosmetics before. I was very impressed by that one and we're going to be doing some looks. I have the Secret Garden 1 and 2. I'm going to do a look on each eye with each palette, and then I'm planning to take that off and do a look combining them because they are also sold in a set meant to be used together. So let's get into it. Alright, so let's start out with the Secret Garden 1. The packaging of this is holographic, kind of like champagne. Looks really beautiful. By the way, it came packaged so well, no casualties, even though these are really soft shades. It came very quickly. There was a discount code for the launch. I did have free shipping. I believe I paid like $108 for both of these and there were no extra taxes. So I think that's interesting to know if you're in Europe. I don't know if it's the same for every country. I think it will be. But this was such a good deal to purchase from their own website. I know this is also coming to Monolith, but actually like $108, I'm guessing it will be like 100 euros, so 50 euros per palette for a palette with such special shades. Like it's very affordable for this day and age. So the Secret Garden 1 is a palette with kind of like more warm tone shades, but I don't feel like it's overly warm. We have some rosy tones, kind of like soft reddish shades, a little bit like pinky red. Then we go into kind of like mustards, and those are a little bit more like, they make it feel a little bit more retro. I think this is probably gonna be my favorite color story of the two, which is kind of strange because I'm usually into the pinks and purples, but there's something really fresh yet kind of like classic retro spring about it. I don't really know, like this gives me the feels. It kind of makes me think of my childhood in a very specific way. And then we have kind of like the greens. I really like the kind of like fresh grassy greens that we have here. I think this is such a nice color combination. It is a spring palette that can also be worn in fall. I feel like it definitely can be worn any season. Like as always, it's your own choice, but I do like to kind of like adapt my style in generally to the seasons because I just love like emphasizing the seasons for myself because I enjoy the changes of seasons so much. It's just a personal thing that I have. But I feel like a lot of people have that for sure. Like a certain season goes with a certain vibe. I love the retro spring vibes that we have here. Here we have a lot of kind of like putty flaky shades that do smooth out when you swatch them, like this one, this one, this one, and this one, very putty flaky. These two, the yellow and the kind of like iridescent green, more smooth. I feel like the iridescent green is the most smooth, very opaque, very smooth and glowy. Absolutely beautiful formulas. It looked really good in the swatch. And now we have the purple pink palette, the Secret Garden 2. We have the holographic packaging. This time it is purple. As you open it up, we really have this pinky purple side here. Like this is my style. This is what I love in makeup. I love these types of tones. We have a few flaky shades in here like rose and freesia, but for example datura, petunia, gypsophila and jasmine are more smooth. So if you're more into like smooth shimmers, this one has a little bit more of a smooth formula to it. Not all of these are flaky. I do love the flaky shades from Kryptein Cosmetics, but not everyone loves flaky shades in general. These all just feel very creamy. Like this is a very creamy formula. I have heard some people have trouble with Kryptein Cosmetics creasing a bit on them. I haven't had that issue personally. I don't really have hooded eyes, but I do have very oily eyelids, so that tells you something. I love the freshness of this one. I love the rosy tones, the purples. I love the minty greens here. Like if you're into cool tones and you want color but you don't want it to be like too scary out there color, like it can still be a little bit more on the neutralish side, and this could be a really beautiful palette. Like this is gorgeous. Okay, Last thing, before we get into the looks, I want to compare this one to the Violet Crazy. That is the only other Kryptein Cosmetics palette that I own. So this packaging is very similar, but it's not holographic. So this one is a little bit more muted. We do have the purples, we do have the rosy tones, but I definitely feel like the muted neutrals here and that pop of pink make it look quite different. I'm going to see if I can hold these up at the same time. Like this is not easy. Okay, this is not easy to do that with one hand. Okay, so I feel like this is more fresh, but we do definitely have the pinky purple vibe. I don't think there are any exact dupes here, but yeah, it could be seen as a little bit too similar maybe. I do like that we have, as a darker shade in the new palette, quite a deep kind of like burgundy purplish brown. The darker shade here was a purple, so I do feel like that is a shade that I was missing. Yeah, this one has almost like a little bit of a gray cast on the shades. I do feel like if you only had like 5 eyeshadow palettes, then these two would be too similar. For me, I love the formula. I'm excited about the brand. I didn't think it was too expensive with buying it from their side with the discount that you get at first. So it's up to you. I don't feel like they're too similar, but there's a similar vibe to them for sure. All right, for the looks. I have been thinking. I feel like there are so many things I'd like to do with this, and it's too hard to pick things. And I'm just gonna do a pretty like purpley look. And I'm already wearing some eye primer. I'm just gonna go in with the shade Iris. And this one just looks like a really nice bright cool tone purple. This is the type of purple that I really enjoy. Like this, if I see this type of purple in a palette, I'm happy. That's really nice. And my cat is washing himself. If you hear that, just building that up. I'm just gonna put that on the lower lash line as well. Always the question how shades adhere to skin where there's nothing, no primer or anything to really stick to. I wanna blend the edge, and for that I'm gonna use the shade Eustoma. Just gonna blend the edge with that light pink. These are all like flower names or like Latin flower names, I presume. I don't know all of these, so some of them I don't know how to pronounce. I'm using quite a bit of this pink, and then a bit I'm gonna go back into the purple. I feel like I keep seeing the edge of where I placed that shadow, but I don't know, it could be the brush that I used. Packed it on in a certain way, but I would expect maybe a little bit more like blendability. I'm gonna grab a different brush for packing on the purple again. Yeah, I think now it's looking good. Blending the edge a little bit more with the residue of the pink. I feel like I keep seeing the edge a little too much, more than I would like. I don't know if it's me or the purple. I'm gonna try and fix it. Did I just say I was gonna do this on the other eye? I'm not doing this on the other eye. On the other eye, I'm gonna do a look with the other palette. So I hope I'm not gonna accidentally do that. I think I can blend it out. I think I probably used the wrong brush. Like that's not looking great. I'm gonna try and do that again. I'm not happy with that. Let me just take that off. I want to give this palette a real chance. Alright, I reapplied my eye primer. We're gonna go into the shade Iris again, and now with a different brush. And I really want to start out in the crease, like not that high just yet. I feel like that other brush just takes it way too high, way too fast. Yeah, I think this is way better so far. Building that up, I like patting and slowly swiping. I think that's looking much better than before. Maybe I was also a little bit too strict. Gonna blend this together again. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of that pink shade Eustoma to blend the edge. Okay, I think we're gonna be okay. think we're gonna be fine. Alright, next up I want to go into the deeper shade called Dahlia for the outer corner. And I'm just gonna take that same brush that I used for the purple. Just gonna focus right in the outer corner. Don't want to take this too high. I think this is a great deepening up shade for this purple color. Like this kind of deepening up shade, this kind of like burgundy, purpley, brown shade, I feel like works with so many of the looks that I do. And I really enjoy when a shade like that is in the palette. Like it's almost universal to me. Just building that up a little bit further. I think that's looking good, and I'm gonna take that brush for the lower lash line. That's very pigmented. That's very dark. Okay, I kind of had like a criticism of the Violet Crazy palette that it didn't go too dark or dark enough, but this definitely creates quite a smoky look. That's definitely possible here. Just blending everything together. And now for the shimmer. Oh wait, no, I want to do the mattes first. I'm gonna go into Larkspur. I feel silly saying these names. Like, I don't want to look everything up, okay? Yeah, I don't have the time. I don't have the time. Like, it's been too long since I last posted a video at this point. And oh, that is a very pigmented blue. That's really nice. Ooh, I love that. I love that very much. And I need to blend that together right here. That is such a nice blue. I love these types of sky blues. And then I want to take the mint called Kala, and I'm gonna put that in the corner. That looks like such a nice, really like cool toned mint. That's so pigmented. That is really, really pigmented. That is vibrant. I really love the formula from Kryptein Cosmetics. At least from the palette that I've tried so far. But once again, I am impressed. I'm gonna take a little bit of that kind of like cornflower sky blue. Gonna blend it underneath here. Yeah, I'm really, really liking that. Looking a little crazy without the shimmers, but I think that's really gonna pull it together. I'm gonna put something in my waterline before I forget. I have this Gosh matte eyeliner in the shade Ocean Mist. And then for the shimmer, I feel like I could basically put any of these on my eye. I really want to try the shade Datura because this had such a beautiful smooth formula to it. It is kind of like, it's like opaque, smooth. It has a holographic sparkle to it. It's also, it looks like a multi-chrome, but it's like so beautiful and smooth. It's like intensely metallic, so intense. So I definitely want to put this on my eye to see about this formula. That is gorgeous. Kind of feels like a shade that could be in the Adept Minka palette. Like that multi-chrome, kind of like purpley with a golden-ish shift. And then the holographic sparkles. That is so cool. Really love that. And then I want to go into the shade Jasmine. That one I can pronounce. That one I know. I had some jasmine tea today. So this is kind of like also a bit of a smoother formula in a minty silvery shade. Has almost a little bit of a like blue to green flip. And I'm gonna put that in the inner part. It's a little bit more flaky than that first shimmer. It has something very silvery, but there's also the shift in there. Really, really pretty. Okay, I'm really happy with this look, but sometimes I just feel like if you have really good eyeshadows, you don't have to work that hard. Okay, I'm saying that while I took off the purple, but I feel like I did that. I think that was my fault. Okay, this is the look. I feel like it matches my dress really well. This is really, really nice. Like, I love that. I feel very cool in this. And I do feel like I tried a lot of the mattes in this look. 2 of the shimmers. The mattes, I had no issues the second time around. So I'm thinking, as I said, it was me. I really like the vibrant shades. I really like the mints, the blues. Okay, we're getting into the second look with the Secret Garden one. And I really want to get into some of these green shades. Kind of like the murky tones and the greens. And then for the combined look, I want to do something with kind of like the rosy tones in this one and then the rosy tones in the other palette. And so I'm just going to start with Hydrangea. And this is really like a grass green shade. It's very powdery actually in the pan. I usually avoid... Ooh, that's very powdery. Maybe I should have been a little bit more careful when going in. I usually kind of avoid warm greens, but there's just something about these really fresh ones that intrigued me. Okay, going in more carefully to take more and really like tapping that on. These kind of like bright warm greens, light greens, kind of make me think of the palette that Angelica Nyquist did in the first round with Owen's Eye. And I do really like the greens in that palette. So that's also kind of like what convinced me. Now this is kind of like a base for the other colors. I think that's good for now. I could always intensify a little bit. I'm gonna go in the shade Daffodil, this one. I'm gonna take the same brush. I'm gonna apply that more in the inner part here. And then I'm gonna deepen up the outer corner with Osmanthus. The kind of like murky green shade. I'm using a smaller brush for that. This one is definitely a little bit more yellow. I quite like that one. I feel like this shade kind of takes this palette into like autumn. That one looks really nice and smooth and pigmented on the eye. I actually really like that one. Gonna blend the edge a little bit. I feel like this is gonna be a little bit of a lighter, more like airy look maybe. Gonna put something on my lower lash line, of course. I'm just gonna take the shade Osmanthus and I'm gonna blend it out with shade Marigold. So that's also kind of like a more like really warm yellowy beige. So first that murky shade. I'm really liking this shade. It's doing something to me. Well, usually I truly avoid, but it's really about the combination. It's about the combination with these other tones and blending that out with Marigold. I have a little bit fallout on this side, so gonna clean it up later. You definitely see that's a little darker, a little bit more like yellowy under the eye, where it doesn't have the green as a base. So that definitely changes the color. Then I really want to try the shade Sunflower. This is kind of like peachy, golden, green, a very flaky, but it looks really beautiful. It kind of looks like sunset-esque. I think this might cause some fallout. I try to only pick up a little bit because I'm a little scared for the texture. Like you really have to smooth this out, but that is like one of the most gorgeous shimmers ever. Like that is stunning. That is stunning. It does really stick to the eye. I like that. Like, I don't really feel like that needs a glitter glue, but it's just the fact that as you have it on your finger at first, it just kind of like lays on top and then it can kind of fall off if you're not careful. But that is really beautiful. If you like kind of like this sunflower-esque look, like this is so nice. Okay, I'm gonna go in with the shade Lily. I'm gonna go in with this smooth iridescent green, also on my finger. Like that looks so amazing on the finger. And I'm gonna put that in the inner part here. That's so nice. I'm very excited about this palette, as you might be able to tell. It's a little different for me, but these shades are just combined in a way that I can really see myself reaching for them. But yeah, I do have some fallout. It did happen. I'm gonna take a little bit of that shade Lily and I'm gonna put that underneath here. The pencil. Oh, wow. Okay, that's pigmented. That's a lot. I took a lot. I went in, I was like, oh, there's not that much on my brush. And then I got a little too excited. Let me try and fix that. That is gorgeous. That is gorgeous. Kind of adapts to the shade that you combine it with, which is nice. Okay, in the inner corner, I think I want to try a little bit of Tulip. The pink. Let's do something a little bit different. That one is also a pretty flaky shade, so I want to see if I can apply that with a brush. It might not be the best idea. It's for sure like kind of like falling off the brush. And I'm mixing that with the shade Lily. It's a beautiful shimmer. I feel like this look is now a little bit messy. I'm also making a mess. Okay, that is gorgeous. I'm gonna put something in the waterline already. I'm just gonna take Cappuccino by Nabla. I feel like a light brown will really suit this look. And I'm gonna use the shade Orchid. So the deepest shade in the palette, I'm gonna use that as a shadow liner. It's really like this reddish burgundy. I think this is gonna be so cool. Gonna blend the edge a little bit and gonna apply it a little bit over here. Okay, I feel like that red liner became a little like thick a little quickly. I don't know what happened there, but I do really like the look of that. It feels very sunset-esque, but also fresh and like not too harsh. There's something quite soft about it still. I am just gonna put on a little bit of mascara. Alright, so here are the finished looks with some mascara, and I really love how this came out. I feel like both of these are very fun and fresh in a different way. Like here we have the Secret Garden one. I think it's just very nice, kind of like sunflower sunset-esque. It's giving sun, it's giving summer. I really love the shimmers. They are just beautiful and sparkly, and I do like the combination of the greens and that we kind of hit those murky shades to kind of like deepen them up and kind of like ground the look a little bit. And then the Secret Garden too, I really like the purple, the blue, the mint. I really love the shimmers on this one. They are super smooth and like absolutely gorgeous. As I said, love both these looks. I think so far, especially the shimmers are just such a lovely formula. I did get quite a bit of fallout that I removed from my face. So keep that in mind. You can always, of course, use a glitter glue, but I don't mind like taking a little bit off and doing my eyes first and then my face. All right, I'm gonna take this off and then we're gonna do another look. Okay, we're back. The eyeshadow is off. The eyes are irritated. But we can do it. I can do it. I hope my eyes are not gonna water. Okay, I want to do something rosy. And I think I'm gonna start with Oleander and Orchid, kind of like in the inner corner. And then we're gonna switch over to Secret Garden too. So that's what we're gonna start out with. I have to find a clean brush. I already used so many of my brushes. So Oleander. This is a bit more of a muted rosy shade. Perfect for every day. Gonna build that up. It's looking really good. And I'm gonna use some of that on the lower lash line as well. Quite a powdery shade. Overall, I feel like the Secret Garden one is quite a bit of a powdery palette. Like the green shades were also on the powdery side. And then I'm gonna deepen that up with the shade Orchid, of course. I just think this is such a beautiful shade, but of course we also want to try it in the outer corner and see what happens. I love kind of like rosy reddish tones. I also feel like it just suits green eyes so well. Deepening that up a little bit more. Gonna put a little bit of that red shade on the lower lash line as well. Try to connect that. Alright, I feel like things are looking a little bit crazy right now. It's gotten a little bit too far. I do feel like this red is pretty pigmented and it's a little bit on the powdery side and it just gets away from me a little bit. My cat is walking around here. Yeah, he's having a very active day. A lot of movement, a lot of emotions. Sometimes he sleeps and sleeps and sleeps. Today is not that day. I'm gonna blend this out with the shade Eustonia. See if we can tone this down a little bit. So I'm starting out in the inner corner. I really like the shade of pink. And then I'm gonna blend the edges with that. Okay, why is that looking good? Or why is that looking good? I think that's looking good. Let's blend it a little bit like high. A bit more high than what I usually do, but I think it's looking pretty cool. We'll be cleaning up under my eye in a second. So now I'm just gonna go all in and blend. So that is what that is looking like right now. I'm liking it. I think it's looking cool. But yeah, it's getting quite pinky, of course, combining that red with the pink. Okay, it's looking crazy, but I think it's gonna really look good when I clean up under my eye, but I'm gonna do that as a last step. Let's see which shimmer I want on my eye. I kind of want to use this shade, but the eye look has gotten a little bit less pinky, but I think it's gonna look cool. So this is a shade Peony. I kind of want to use that on my eyes. It looks really impressive in the swatches. I'm just gonna take a little, like I tried to take a little bit, but it's already like quite a thick flaky layer on the finger. So this is really like a darker reddish pink to a bright peachy copper. It's looking so cool. I think this is probably, oh wait, there's also some green in it, so it's definitely a multi-chrome. I think I have to really like smooth this out on the eye once again. Yeah, that is definitely the case. It's a really beautiful shimmer though, but kind of have to blend the edges because it's kind of like, it's a really like impactful shimmer. That's looking really cool. Gonna try and take a little bit again and smooth it out. It's just hard to like pick up a little bit when it's such a creamy flaky shade. Now of course I have to match the other side where I picked up a little bit more, blending the edge. Kind of feeling like I need a little bit more of that red in the outer corner, but first I think I want to do kind of like the inner corner shimmer, and I'm thinking I want to go in with Freesia over here. So this is also a bit of a flaky shade. It's a bit more cool toned. Do I want to do that? Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna just go in. It's, yeah, wow. That is like glow in the dark. That is a very impactful shimmer. Wow. That is crazy. Like, it doesn't look this purpley, like iridescent purple in the pan. Like in the pan it looks like it's gonna be a cool tone pink. That's not it on the eye. Maybe you can do things to make it pull a little bit more pink, like put it on top of certain things. Like it's pulling a little bit more pink on this side where I applied a little less. But that is like, it's kind of like a multicolored sparkle shade almost. It has like purple and pink in it. I think that's really beautiful. Right, I'm gonna take that shade on a brush and apply that in the inner corner. Of course, it's not gonna be as impactful as with the finger, but I don't feel like applying with my finger is precise enough in the inner corner, especially because I have long nails and I just can't get in there. This is really beautiful. I feel like because these shades are so putty, if you use these palettes every day, you're gonna hit pan pretty quickly, I think. Because it's just so soft, softly pressed in the pan. This is gorgeous. Do I want to do another shimmer? I'm gonna put a little bit of Datura. Or am I gonna... No, I'm gonna use a shade that I haven't used yet. I'm gonna go into Rose. This it looks like a really flaky shade, so I don't know how this is gonna go on the lower lash line, but I'm gonna try. It's very sparkly. It's a very beautiful color. Okay, I really like that, but of course if you try and do this, use such a like flaky shade with a brush on your lower lash line, it's gonna go everywhere. I think I'm just gonna dim this up a little bit more with the shade Dahlia. I'm just missing a little bit of depth now with the way that I've blended things. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of that here in the outer corner. And shimmer is gonna fly around. And a bit on the lower lash line. I just really want that depth and dimension. A bit more blending. And I'm just gonna use a little bit of Dahlia once again. And I'm gonna use that as my shadow liner. I'm gonna try and keep it a little like small and subtle. Okay, I think this look has turned out really beautifully, nicely. I think it looks really great. I'm not gonna lie, I had a little bit of trouble blending that red. I don't know what it is, but I feel like the darker mattes for me caused just a little bit of trouble. Like I could make it work, and I'm not saying that it's the eyeshadows. Like I still have to test them out a little bit more to be able to say that, but I just gotta be honest. Like the shimmers all worked beautifully. Of course there's gonna be a little bit of fallout, but I had to put in the work a little bit with the darker mattes. The lighter mattes were really nice and pigmented. The greens were a little bit more like powdery. But I'm just gonna finish this look. Gonna clean up under my eyes. I'll be right back. So here we have it, the finished look, the third look. And this was not a perfect first impressions video. Sometimes it happens, sometimes everything is super easy, and sometimes things don't go exactly as you want, as I want. So at points I had a little bit of trouble blending the shades. I do feel like all three of the looks in the end came out really beautifully. I do think that the shimmers are really beautiful. Do have to say that I just noticed a little bit of creasing that was already happening with this Freesia shade. I think it was on a little bit too thick, so I just blended that out a little bit, and I'm gonna keep an eye on that to see if it's gonna crease more now or if it was kind of like a fluke one-time thing. As always with like very flaky shades, I always pay a little bit more attention to the wear time and if it creases. I have to say, I'm still excited about these palettes. I think I did some really nice looks. I really love the inspiration that they give me. Really love the color choices in these palettes. But I'm definitely gonna keep in mind the shades that I had a little bit of trouble blending with in the future when I'm testing these palettes. That red I definitely need to do another look with and see how I feel. Like maybe use that as the first shade. Maybe that was kind of like a thing that wasn't really working. Maybe it's better for that shade to be put down first, and maybe the pink that I put down before that one kind of like made it too blown out. That could be the case. So I'm gonna be testing that out. I'm gonna report back. So yeah, definitely have some notes. Still really happy with the looks. And I believe these are sold out, but they're coming to Marlie and they will also be restocked. And when they are restocked on the Kryptein Cosmetics website, they are gonna have the discount code for the launch as well, because it was sold out so quickly. So you can still get it at their site. I have to say I had a great experience. I definitely will be ordering directly from their site from now on. All right, that's gonna be it for this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye bye.